Hi designers, we're live. Thanks for joining today. We are talking about your sketches and how to source your fabric today in our live event. So the first thing, I always just want to put it out there. If you wanted to work with me more consistently, I'm offering 40% off of my coaching for the month of January. So it's coming up fast. We only have until February 1st. If you guys are interested in that offer, you can book a strategy session through the link in my profile. And we do, in the coaching, I have a curriculum. There's 12 calls if you wanted to do 3 months. In each call we have new content, new templates and checklists and vendors and everything that I've put together the last 12 years to help launch a fashion designer. So if you're thinking about launching in 2021, even 2022, you should get started now. All right, so sketching. A lot of designers come to me and they don't have a sketching background, and that's totally fine. At V.Mora, we will sit with you and we do kind of like the police sketchers where you're describing and we're sketching and we're changing things. So you can always outsource this if it's not something that you want to do on hand. But the first thing that you want to do is you put together a mood board, and that can be fabrics and designs that you like. Maybe you like the belt of this and you like the back of this, you like the length of this. So generating some sort of visual, that can be on Pinterest, it can be a PowerPoint, it can be, just magazines that you've cut out and you've made a poster board. But you want to put all your ideas and visuals into one place before you start sketching. And then when you start sketching, you'll want to sketch way more than you want to design, because you're going to take those sketches and eliminate it down to your first collection. And your first collection is, it depends on your budget, but normally it's about 8 to 12 pieces. Have I had designers design 30 pieces? Yes, but they have a very large budget and you want to be connected directly to your finances when you're designing, because the more styles, the more it's going to cost. So when you sit down to do your sketches, sketch twice as many. You can always put some on hold for next season, but from your sketches, you'll want to design at least double. So if you're planning on doing 8 pieces, you want to sketch out at least 16. And once you have the sketches, you'll put those into spec sheets. But again, the spec sheets, that's something I cover in the coaching. It's just basically, it has your sketch, it has your fabrics, it has your size chart, and everything that your pattern maker is going to need to know in order to make your first sample. But sketching can be, I've worked with designers that have literally given me sketches on a napkin or used crayons and construction paper. It's just anything. Hi Ryan. Ryan is launching soon. Her production's gonna be ready. We're so excited. She's doing bags. So check out Ryan Catherine and her Instagram for her launch. They're beautiful. We cannot wait. So thanks for joining, Ryan. So sketches. Ryan, for example, is beautiful sketches. The colors and hers were perfect, but they don't have to be perfect. And I've definitely worked with with designers that have, not perfect sketches. I'd say most of my designers don't have the sketching ability that Ryan has. So sketching everything out, just drawing it, you can use what's called a croquis. And you can Google this and find a croquis online. It's just going to be the base of the body that you'll put. You can put it underneath like a piece of tracing paper, and it'll have like a women's body, or you can do men's, babies, toddlers, children's, and even dogs. Dogs have croquis that you can find online. So that is just like the base of the body that you'll draw your garment on top of. It's very helpful in, even professional sketch designers will tend to use a croakie, even if that means they're drawing it out, because it's so easy for them to draw a body figure. But yeah, so Google croakies so that you can use that on for the basis of all your sketches, and then you just start sketching from there. And this should be something that it's fun for you, because you're the designer and these are your ideas. Most designers have way more ideas than they have for the actual designs that they end up going forward with. So the important part is to just not be overwhelmed and to get something on paper. For my designers that have no experience in sketching, cannot sketch at all, they'll put together those photos, like I said. So you'll have different pictures of, I like this neckline, I like this skirt, I like this back. And then someone that can sketch can pull those ideas from the photos for you and make those sketches for you. In the beginning, we always, unless you're really, really good at Illustrator, using just a piece of paper and a pencil and some colored pencils is fine, because it takes time to convert those into an Illustrator file. And the Illustrator file is what you use later on for your spec sheets and then for your tech packs. So for right now, I think the biggest thing is to just get something out of your head and onto paper, whether you're using other visuals for that, other photos for that, or if you're using the Illustrator and you're able to draw really beautiful sketches. So once you have your sketches, an important point on the sketches is that you don't want to be too specific in your fabric. Like if you draw something and it's pinstripes with yellow smiley faces, then you go to fabric sourcing and you're looking, sorry about the noise, I swear, every Wednesday at 2 o'clock they start construction outside, unless I only notice it on Wednesdays when I'm live. But yeah, so if you have a very specific fabric that you've designed your entire collection around, and then you're going and you're looking for only that fabric, it can be difficult because there's limited fabrics. And if you've designed everything around this pinstripe with smiley face, you might then have to have that fabric printed, which is fine. We have lots of designers that do their own printing, but then it's another process in the pipeline. You've got to have the fabric delivered to the print house. You've got to have hire a designer to make that Illustrator file for the printer to use. You'd have to then match Pantone colors and cotton to what colors you want to use in that print. And then you do a strike off. Whoever is printing does an example, a strike off for you. You approve that, and then you have your fabric printed. So it prolongs the process. And then you'll also want to think about there's minimums that you'll have to meet when you're printing on your own fabric. So bringing us into fabric sourcing, you do want to be mindful that you want there to be open possibilities in your fabric. This kind of goes at the same time. Sometimes designers will source their fabric as they're sketching, because that gives you the room to have your fabric inspire your sketches. You might see a really beautiful fabric and you're like, that would be great in a puff sleeve V-neck dress, and the fabric is speaking to you on the designs. So both the fabric sourcing and the sketches happen at the same time. It's not to say that you can't do all your sketches first. You just want to be mindful that if you have any very specific fabric needs, it might make the fabric sourcing more difficult. So now fabric sourcing. Fabric sourcing has changed a lot, and I talked about it a little bit last week with Jay Abertman from the Sourcing District. There's not trade shows right now. All the trade shows are being done virtual. So the main point is you'll want to give yourself a little bit more time to source your fabrics, because what fabric sourcing looks like now is you have to figure out what kind of fabrics you're working with. Mainly, is it going to be wovens or is it going to be knits? Are you making t-shirts? Are you making khaki pants? Are you making blazers? So you want to know enough about the fabric that you're looking for so that when you call the fabric vendors, you can give them a round estimate of the fabrics that you're looking for. If you don't know what kind of fabrics are, it's as simple as going shopping. That is my first homework assignment for you guys, is to go shopping and look in your closets. If you really like a fabric, you look at the content, the care label, to figure out, is this a cotton blend? Is this a poly blend? Is this rayon? Is this viscose? I'm gonna take a drink of water. I feel like I'm talking really fast. So going into the labels on your clothes and while you're shopping will help you decipher through the different fabrics. Again, you don't want to be super specific of like, I found this fabric, it's 10% rayon, it's 5% spandex, it's 85% cotton. That's it. That's the only fabric I want. I only want that. What will happen is all fabric is woven differently. And even though it could be like you'll have one fabric that's 100% cotton that feels completely different than another fabric that's 100% cotton. So being really restrictive in any way when you're sourcing your fabric isn't going to benefit you. So you want to focus more on what's called the hand. How does the fabric feel? Like this fabric is really soft, but I know it's cashmere. You can find really great blends of fabric that aren't cashmere that have the same hand as cashmere. So knowing that you want to feel the fabrics before you decide if it's going to work for you. What I would go to if I was going to make something like this, I'd say feels like cashmere, could be a poly rayon blend, very soft, and I'm making a cut and sew sweater out of it. Cut and sew means that these pieces are cut and sewn together, obviously, but there's sweaters that are made where there's no seam here. It's just knitted in the way of the sweater. So that's a whole different ballgame. A lot of information. But again, if you're looking, you want to go into more detail about any of this, I'm doing the coaching at 40% off. So we would build a plan for you. I'd align you with the fabric vendors that will work for what you're looking for, and I would help you. I have a script that I give designers of what to say when you're talking to fabric vendors, what you need to know. So it makes it a lot more accessible. But yes, just looking at the care labels, figuring out what content you want to use. You'll call up the fabric vendors. There's lists of fabric vendors, all of these trade shows. There's the DG Expo, there's LA Textiles, there's the apparel trade show in Miami, and then also in Canada. So all of these trade shows are now going virtual. So it's a great place that you can go in and virtually meet these people. They'll have like booths, you can tell them what you're looking for, and they'll send you swatches. Now that right there is making the process longer than it used to be, because if you're at the trade show, you can see and feel what they have and place sample orders off of that. But now you have to order swatches to see and feel what they have. So it's adding about 3 weeks to the process, even maybe more, because so now you'll virtually meet this fabric vendor, whether it's through a virtual trade show. Makers Row is also a good platform. It has a lot of vendors, or just Google searching. And you'll meet these fabric vendors and you'll tell them what they're looking for, and they're going to send you swatches. Now, your first round of swatches might be all wrong. Nothing's going to work. But you'll have these swatches in your hand to call that same fabric vendor back and say, I really like this one, but it's too thin. I really like this one, the color of it, but the actual fabric is too rough and it's not going to work for what I'm looking for. Too thick. So you can use what you have as like a control of like, these are what you are, this is what's working and what's not working. So then the next round of samples will be closer to what you're looking for, because you have some more specific examples to be able to use. So fabric swatching. Then after you swatch the fabric, and let's say you have 3 fabrics that are working, you'll order sample yardage. and from that sample yardage, say it's 5 yards, you'll want to do a wash test. This is so important. You take 1 yard of fabric, not a yard, but you cut off what will be a square, draw a square, 12 by 12 in permanent marker, wash it and dry it. Or if it's a dry clean only fabric, take it to the dry cleaners. And after it's washed in whatever way it's supposed to be washed, dry cleaners, wash it, hang dry, whatever that is, you want to take that 12 by 12 square that you've done in permanent marker, re-measure it, and see what it measures out of. If that 12 by 12 square is now a 10 by 10 square, it's shrink way too much, and it's going to cause you problems when you make your samples. So you'll either have to pre-wash your fabric before you cut into it, find a new fabric altogether, or, and I don't like this one, but make your patterns larger so that when they shrink, they then shrink to the size that you're looking to create. But that one, a lot of times, the consumer already has it. When they try it on, they're not always thinking about shrinkage. I mean, some of us do. Like if I try something on and it's 100% cotton, I know that probably when I wash it, it's going to shrink a little bit, so I might buy it even though it's a little bit too big. But to have that worked into, I would just prefer you either pre-wash your fabric or find a fabric that shrinks less. The most you want it to shrink is 4%. So if it's 12 inches, 4% of 12 inches, I can't do the math right now, is 3, whatever, it's going to be 4% of 12. I can't do the math. But you don't want it to shrink any more than 4 inches. I'm sorry, 4%. Because anything more than that, I think it's 1/3 of an inch, whatever. Anything more than that is going to affect your fit of your garment, and it's going to be detrimental in when your consumers get it. If it shrinks too much, then they're not going to go back to purchase from your line. So that's the gist of sketching and fabric sourcing. Again, my coaching until February 1st is offered at 40% off. There's a link in my profile to book a strategy session if you're interested. I just quickly too, I wanted to talk about questions to ask your fabric vendor when you talk to them. You'll want to know what their minimums are, because if their minimum is 2,000 yards, you might not be able to meet the 2,000 yards at your first production run. So you'll want to look for vendors that have low minimums, and then you also want to ask them about the minimums for sampling. Some vendors don't offer sample yardage at all. Some vendors offer sample yardage, but it's going to be at a 25% increase of what the bulk order is going to be. Some fabric vendors will offer sample yardage once on one fabric, but you wouldn't be able to order sample yardage again. You'll have to meet their production minimum. So ask them about their minimums for both production and for sampling. Also, huge tip, make sure that you have a UPS number when you call for swatches, because swatches in general are free, maybe for your first 10. Every fabric vendor has different requirements when it comes for swatching. Some of them will charge you $1 per swatch, maybe $2 per swatch. I think it's transitioning a little bit because so many swatches are being sent out because the trade shows aren't happening. So the price for swatching might increase because of that. But the swatches get sent to you on your shipping account. So if you have a UPS number ready to go, you'll get your swatches sooner. So there you have it. Those are the tips for sketching your designs and for your fabric sourcing. And if you're interested in talking more specifically about anything at all, the link for setting up a strategy session with me is in my profile. And these lives I'm going to be doing weekly at 2 o'clock on Wednesdays. So I haven't decided what next Wednesday is going to be about, but it'll be something that'll help you launch your clothing line. So I hope to see you next Tuesday at 2. And if you missed any of this, it'll be on the IGTV section of the V.Mora as well as the news feed. All right, thanks for joining, you guys. I'll see you next week. And I never can figure out how to end this. Does this do it? There we go.